Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning or good evening for those who are listening on different time zones. My name is Marilyn. I'm the CEO and founder of Customized Training Solutions Private Limited, or CTS. And we are passionate about empowering leaders and organizations transform and thrive by co-creating customized programs with the help of our world-class resources. We have served companies such as Petronas, Sony, Shell, ProLife UK, Ayala Group, Tencent, Jollibee Foods, just to name a few. And what makes us different, reason why our clients choose us, is because of our customer centricity, passion, unreserved attention, and responsiveness. Our experts have a well combination as well of practical and training experience, which ensures outcome and impact for them. So it's my great pleasure to be able to introduce to you our leader for today. Um, his name is Thomas Ang. He founded Genashtim Innovative Learning in 2008 in Singapore as a for-profit social enterprise with a mission of leveraging technology and the internet to connect marginalized resources to the global economy. Janash team has been operating as a 100% remote work company with more than 100 employees in more than 10 countries across 6 continents. Their clients include Microsoft, Google, Herbalife, McDonald's, Jollibee, and government institutions like Magic, the Malaysian Ministry of HR, Singapore Business Federations, Skills Future Singapore, to name a few. And Janash team have received numerous recognitions and awards, most recently as one of the top 150 companies in the world for the 2021 Real Leaders Impact Awards. And prior to that, Thomas worked for over 20 years in leadership position with ABB and Rixham. So without so much further ado, I'd like to invite and bring in Thomas. Hi, Thomas. How are
Hi,
you?
I am very well, thank you.
That's good to hear. So we'll jump for the interview right away. So for my first question, so that our audience will be able to understand where you're coming from and your perspective and the insights that you're gonna share for today, please do share with us and your leadership experience and influencers. That includes probably your leadership style or your preferred leadership style, your experience, and who actually influence you in how you lead right now.
Okay, as you can see from the color of my hair, I've been around for quite a long time. So prior to starting Genashtim, I spent 25 years, as you mentioned, working in the corporates, big multinational companies, and working across different countries. And of course, when you do that, you go through uh, many different bosses, right? And then
Exactly.
you try to learn from you learn from the good bosses, but you also try to learn from the bad bosses, right? So it's very hard for me to kind of pinpoint any particular person or individual that I learned from, but I think that it has been a really tremendous experience. And the other thing is that I have been a member of the Young Presidents Organization since 1999. So it's like 20, more than 20 years. And I spent 18 years in leadership in this organization. And this is, for those of you who don't know about YPO, I mean, it's the top, 45,000 CEOs in the world. And again, being in that position and in leadership, you really learn a lot. I sat on the international board for 2 years, and so again, learning from some very amazing leaders from around the world.
Mhm. That's great. I mean, great experience in terms of, working with multinational companies and being part of YPO, like you've mentioned. And of course, there will be a lot of inspiration. So Having said that, I mean, you've been part of YPO for quite some time now, and these are top CEOs, like what you've mentioned. So, what is leadership for you, or how do you define leadership?
Okay, so I gave I've been thinking about this quite a bit, and I think the simple answer to this is I believe leadership is about sincerity, about authenticity, and about transparency. But the thing is that sometimes presents certain challenges, right? Because if you don't have the right sense of purpose, and you are you're being sincere and authentic and transparency of not being having the right sense of purpose, then you're in deep shit, right? So I think that has to start, right? You have to doing this for the right reasons, and you have the right intentions. And throughout my corporate life, I've seen a lot of leaders who fail because, and I think they might succeed in the short term. In the long term, they fail is because they have a very personal agenda. They're looking after themselves. They don't care about anybody else. And I think when that happens, I think it's quite hard to become a good leader. And then also, I believe about being a leader, apart from sincerity, authenticity, and all that, also about empathy. I think empathy is very, very important. And you need to understand the people and feel for the people that you're working with. And I have to be very careful because a lot of people identify empathy with sympathy, and there's nothing further from the truth, because sympathy will actually lead you down the wrong path. And I think that many people who work for me and continue to still work for me will say that I'm not an easy leader. And so sometimes you have to practice what I call tough love, and you have to be cruel to be kind. And you need to
Mm-hmm.
know how to exercise that and be clear the reason why you are being tough. Because at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, you want people to succeed. It's not because you want to belittle anyone.
Exactly. I totally agree with you on, practicing tough love. And at the end of the day, the purpose of having, tough love is for them to succeed as well. Because sometimes, people needs to be reminded, um, needs a little push, right?
Yeah, that's
And that
right.
tough love. I totally agree with you. And so how would you define and describe the next normal moving forward? I mean, we mentioned in the introduction that you've been having a remote team ever since you started this business, right? So
Yeah,
definitely we will be able to learn a lot from you on what you do. You
yeah.
went ahead of the next normal.
That's right. So for more than 10 years, we have been preparing for COVID-19, So we have been a 100% remote work company. And on top of that, our chosen business that we are in is actually in e-learning, and also digital support services. So everything we do is actually what kind of the world is being pushed towards, with COVID-19. So I think that we have been living the new norm, for a long time. But having said that, I feel that the new norm has not yet revealed itself, because we are still kind of in transitionary situation in many places around the world. And even in the place, like I'm now in Australia, right? In Australia, things are so well managed and all that, but still the government is providing a lot of support for companies to keep people hired, and for people who have lost their jobs. So, and this support is going to taper off, over time, and it's starting to taper off already. And so it's going to get really kind of worse. And of course, and as Australia being among the best countries in the world handling COVID-19, you can imagine what's going to happen with the rest of the world, right? So I think a lot of this is not yet known. Um, if I also can kind of add a couple of points about remote work and e-learning and all that. I mean, I sign up for all webinars, and sometimes I listen to them recording. Sometimes I attend them live. But I've attended a lot of these remote work webinars from consultants and fancy names and all that. But none of these people have actually lived it. So I think that a lot of the things they actually miss. They thought a lot about technology, about trust, about this, about that. But the whole thing about the processes that we have developed over 10 years and the culture that we have developed, I think that is something which I have not heard anybody talk about. So in a way, I think it's good that we have still a few secrets to ourselves. And similar thing about e-learning, because prior to COVID-19, the e-learning world was about what I call one-way delivery kind of a e-learning. You learn by yourself, right? We are practicing a collaborative e-learning kind of a delivery since the beginning, and this is something still quite rare in the industry. And in COVID-19, a lot of people have come out and said that now we are doing collaborative e-learning because it is facilitator-led virtual learning, which means like this webinars. I'm sorry, this is not e-learning. So I think a lot of things that are emerging, and people think they know they this is remote work and this is e-learning. It's actually not real. I mean, it's not. It's there's still a lot to be learned, which in a way we are quite pleased, because I think a lot of people don't really understand what these things are yet, and we have still a few secrets to ourselves.
I love that, and I agree with you. I mean, I've seen eCornell. I get to access what you were saying on collaborative e-learning, and I'm really glad to be partnering with Genashtim on that. So,
Thank you.
moving forward, you've mentioned that the new normal has yet to be revealed, and at the same time, a lot of people talk about remote working, but they haven't leave it, and you still have some secret sauce there. So if you can probably share one or two on, because we wanted to find out what will it actually take to navigate this crisis now that traditional metrics and assumptions have been rendered irrelevant, and at the same time, like you've mentioned, not a lot of companies or leaders have actually lived in this kind of situation before. So um, what will be your take in terms of how we can navigate this crisis or this new normal?
So I think, I mean, there are three main things when you talk about remote work, right? The first one is of course technology, and I think that's a given. There's so much technology out there. We've been using different tools. We use so many different tools over the last more than 10 years. I think today we are very much our main platform is actually Microsoft Teams. And I mean, and this is actually quite recent. We only started using Microsoft Teams, I think hardly a year ago, and so I think that's one thing that has been very, very good. But there are many, many other tools that we use, and we actually do use also monitoring tools, right? Tool like Time Doctor, for example. Although we always talk about trust of the employees and everything, it's one thing to talk about trust, but at the end of the day, there's some, not everybody, is 100% kind of, and new people come in all the time, so. And also, actually, for us, the Time Doctor tool is not just about monitoring our remote employees, but it's actually the main reason we put it in place was because we need to track the hours we do for projects
Mm-hmm.
for a number of reasons. Some customers, we actually bill them on billable hours. So we need a tool that is reliable to track the hours of the people working from all over the globe, right? The second thing is that we very often tender for projects, like we tender for and win projects with the Singapore Water Utility Board, and as an example. And we do a calculation of how many hours we spend to develop the e-learning tools and everything, and then we tender for the job, we get it. But when we implement the job, we need to track the hours so that we know whether we are on track or not. And if we are spending too many hours, the next time we bid for a job, we have to use different information, right? So things like that. So technology is a huge part of it, but that is actually the easiest part to implement. The second part is actually work processes. So work processes have to be very different because of the way that you operate and how you interact each other and all that. That's very, very important, right? And the way we do, I mean, our HR processes are totally different. We almost like come up with HR processes from a blank sheet of paper. For example, we don't have holidays, public holidays in the company. We don't have, because we have people from around the globe, so everybody has different public holidays. So we have a total number of days you can take off from the company, and that includes public holidays. Because some people do not want to be off on Christmas or Chinese New Year, or so why do you actually close down the office? And then we have customers all over the world, so they also say, we don't want you to close down. So we run 365 days in the year, additional day on leap years. So and then so the processes on how we function and everything is actually quite fun, I would say. It's kind of, we're inventing things all the time, right? And the last part and the most difficult part is culture. So culture is the thing that really binds people together, and we have got the things that we use which are unique and not used in other companies. For example, we have a tribal system in the company. So employees from different departments form tribes. So a tribe is made up of people from different departments, and they interact with each other using video calls like this. And they share about personal matters, they share about work and everything. And this is how we kind of connect people from around the world and make them feel that there is a social element to their work with their co-workers. So that's actually one of them. And we have a lot of fun games that we do. This 2020, for example, we did three things. One was we had a chess competition, uh, you know, remote chess competition, and then we had a Genashtim's Got Talents, where people are singing,
Wow.
gymnastics, whatever it is. They can then we had a external judges, and then they win the competition. And towards the end of the year, we launched a hackathon. We call it Murder on the Orient Express. So we produce a video to say that somebody got murdered, and it is Genashtim got murdered. So we asked the tribes. Here the tribes operating of different groups. They come up with reasons why they think that who killed Genashtim, right? So it could be customers, it could be lazy employees, it could be legislation, it could be difficult customers. So they go through the process of thinking through and understanding what the problems are that face the company and could kill the company. And this was fun, and there was a cash prize for it, and the three prizes actually. And people have fun, and they come out with very interesting things, and they also got them to think about what to do to keep the company alive, especially in very turbulent times like this. So an employee engagement survey, we do it very religiously every year, and the way we all do it also is quite unique in the sense that the results from the survey are confidential. We don't know who ticked which box and everything, but the consolidated results are published to the whole company. And I have to be put on the spot. I have to then go on the video, go through the results, and explain where there are negative things. I got to go and explain to the company, to everybody. So it's like turning thing on his head. So I have to justify to everybody in the company. So these are things which you do are quite different and unique. I think I don't come across any company doing that. And I've just given you the tip of the iceberg. So there's enough there. There's all the time we have, right? For this.
Definitely. Thank you so much for those tips. And again, in our upcoming summit, we will covering a lot on this, like what you've mentioned. The three keys to navigating the next normal includes technology, improving the processes, and of course building the right culture for your organization, right? And
Mm.
I love that part where you shared how much you have fun, and at the same time encourage and empower your team to to contribute in terms of the ideas that you can do to keep Jonash team at,
Yeah.
as usual, or in similar to or even better
Mm.
from when you started. So, having said that, what do you believe will be the important, leadership capabilities or skills that leaders must have in the next normal to be able to continue to lead effectively?
Mm. Okay, so actually the answers is quite simple. I mean, everybody has talked about this. It's a matter of whether they know how to implement it or not. The answer is basically three things: agility, creativity, and innovation. So, the new norm, you have to know how to pivot, agility, you need how to change things you do. And we are doing that all the time. And we've been doing that from since the beginning, right? Because we are in spaces, our business, you're doing things which other companies, nobody has done before, right? So to be able to be agile and to be able to change track with things is actually very, very critically important. And I always have very tough discussions with my colleagues, and I tell them that if you're the kind of person who says what is my job description, then you're in the wrong place. Your job description changes every day, or could change every day. And if I were to start writing job descriptions, then my whole life will be just writing job descriptions because they change all the time. So we will go into a different types of business. We will change the offerings from our customers. And I mean, in the course of last year, we have one customer who went from one piece of business with us, went up to three different pieces of business with us. Can you imagine that? So which means that we did two other things for our customers which have never done before. One of them was we started by providing them e-learning since the last 10 years. And then last year, what they did was that they wanted to outsource their marketing communications to us. And so we took on the whole, so the intranet, their internal newsletter, their website, everything is managed by us. It's something that we never done for another company before, right? And then the next thing was they wanted us to run a huge number of webinars for them because they have an onboarding program. This is quite a big company. They're operating in 9 countries, a few thousand employees, and they wanted to roll out this kind of company orientation program, which is actually I think it's a 3-week program if it is run in the classroom, and they want to run this for 1,000 employees in 9 countries. But with COVID-19, they cannot do it. So we had to run webinars and set up. So in the course of 1 year, which we're still in the first few months of the project, we have to run more than 1,000 webinars, each of 4 hours long with this client. And imagine, I mean, it's damn good business for us, right? But then there's this
Exactly.
new business which we have never done before. I mean, we run webinars, but we never run webinars for clients, right? So things like that. And I always tell them that you cannot complain that there's so much chaos, everything is changing every day. We might do something and then we find it's not good, we drop it, we do something else. And I discovered after a couple of days learning about design thinking, that's what design thinking is about. You just keep prototyping, and then you kind of and keep changing and dropping and moving on. And I think this kind of thing, I tell my employees, I said one thing you need to learn is to be able to operate under ambiguity. Who is your boss? Don't know. I mean, you work with a few people. There's no one person who says do this. Tell you every day what to do. You have to be able to work with different department heads who have different perspectives on the project, and you need to be able to function in that environment. And for us in management, we have to keep innovating ourselves out of this, because I had this discussion with my entire team. I think it was in March last year. I said, look, what does a generation exist? We are online learning, remote work company, and we hire people with disabilities and other marginalized communities, right? That is our secret, right? I said that at that time, I already read a report from one of the reports from McKinsey that says that with this pandemic, so remote work is going to be the norm. And because remote work is a norm, then companies should actually be hiring more people with disabilities. So I told my colleagues, I said, you know what? If people follow what McKinsey says, we have lost our secret sauce, right? So our mission is accomplished. So everybody in the world will be doing remote work and hiring people with disabilities and refugees, and then our mission is done. So we have first of all, we have no reason to exist as a company. Second thing is that there'll be so much competition, and I told them each one of you will probably be offered a salary 3 times what you're getting, right? So then function. So I said, I think that if everybody follows the report from McKinsey, I said 2 to 3 years, Genashtim will cease to exist. So now we got to think now, how do we continue to exist and innovate ourselves out of this? So the blue ocean that we have been swimming in, there's a red tide coming in. So now we're going to look for other bluer parts of the ocean to swim to, right? So I hope that answers your question.
Definitely, definitely. And I love what you said on the three things that, um, will be able to help leaders, the agility, innovation, creativity. And definitely, those are really important skills or capabilities that we should have as a leader. And, like you said, um, to innovate all the time so that you don't have to cease operations or cease your company, right? You have to innovate every time. Yeah. So what do you believe is the role of leadership and transformation in thriving in the next normal, having
Well,
said all those you've shared earlier?
yeah, I think basically what I said about what leadership should be about and what is going to be important going forward, is that we need to now keep rethinking. I mean, this thing about the hackathon too, right? Murder on the Orient Express. We got to figure out how we could die as a business, so that we can understand how we can avoid avoid dying, right? So we think about that all the time, even though we are really ahead of the curve by so much, right? And even then, I think people will catch up at some point. I mean, the world is not so stupid, right? So other companies will catch up, and we are still a tiny little business. It's so easy to snuff us out. Once these big multinational get it and start to do something and throw hundreds of millions of dollars at it, they will create something that can just kill us overnight, right? And then at the end of it, if I can just add about as a leader, um, as a leader, I think the other characteristic I need to add here is vulnerability, and I think it's important for the leader to come across as vulnerable. And the reason for that is that you want your people to also think and come up with ideas, right? If you are positioning yourself as the Mr. Know All, the only voice of authority, I only make all the decisions in this company, then nobody is going to think for you. So I very often says, guys, I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do. I tried so hard, it's failed. This customer I've been chasing for the last year, it still won't, it still won't sign up with us. And sometimes lose your cool, lose your temper, lose your. I mean, we're all humans, right? Why do I want to hide this, right? And as like I said earlier, as long as the purpose is there, everybody understands and trusts the purpose, then you can behave, I think, a little bit more, let your guard down. And I think when you let your guard down, people hopefully will then come in and contribute. And that's to me the most important thing, because it's so much to do. If your people are not, having giving the ideas and coming up with solutions, it's very hard to do this.
Mhm. Yes, I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
Everyone, and that's the reason why you actually hire a team, right?
yeah,
For
yeah,
them
that's
to be
right.
able to help you and contribute in the success of the business.
Mm,
And I think that's one of the challenge for most leaders, especially the traditional ones, right?
yes. It's not.
I
It's
don't
not.
want to be
It's not a natural way for a leader, right? The leader is that numero uno.
hired. True, true. Yeah.
I'm the
So
smartest person in the room, right?
yes, yes. That's the like I think that's the misconception that if you're the leader you have to be the smartest or you have to know it all. But in fact, now in this next normal, um to be a leader you have to be vulnerable. You have to ask help. Ask
That's
for
right.
help.
That's right. Yeah.
And to be able to know how to listen to your team so that you can get more ideas and you can succeed more in doing the business or running the show, running the team. Yeah. So thank you so much for all those amazing insights from you. And the last question I have, which will be, I would call the Miss Universe question. So, if you were to ask yourself a question that you can best answer, what would it be and why?
Okay. Miss Universe. Well, I think maybe a corny one. What more do you want out of life, and why? Right. So this is an easy question for me to answer because in a week I'll be turning 64.
Wow.
so I think what more can you want out of life, right? So I think for me to have arrived at this point, and I'm so thankful for, I've been so blessed all my life. Coming I came from lower middle class family, did well in school, get scholarships, did well in corporate life, wrote up, went up to the heap, and then became an expat, and made more money than I knew what to do with. And then, of course, in the last 10 years I spent it all on this company called Genashtim, right? So I've been there, done that. I've lived a decadent lifestyle for a long time. I don't feel I need anything. My two children, my daughter is 32. She's already married and living, short distance away from my home. My son is 30 years old, still living with us. And I have a home here in Melbourne. I love it. It's nothing very fancy, but I really love my home. And I'm actually, in a way, very thankful to COVID-19 because I used to travel 70% of the time, but for the past year, I spent all my time at home, and I'm loving it. I'm not missing anything. And the greatest thing is I didn't drive my wife nuts because she's so used to me being away all the time, right? And doing her own thing, and so now she's got to deal with me every day, morning to night. Right? Um, and imagine how terrible they can be, So I think that for me is that I don't have any desire for anything. And the reason why, I think, first of all, to be fair, I've been there, done that. You know, I really don't feel that I need anything anymore. But the great thing is I talked about empathy earlier on, right? When you work up close with so many people who have to struggle every day with pain, with disability, with staring at the void. I mean, the refugees may not be placed for 20 over years. They're stuck in no man's land, with no rights. And when you are up close with them every day, then you really feel, you know I'm a multi-billionaire. I have everything. I have freedom. I have lovely weather. I have a nice home. I have a lovely family. I don't have a desire for expensive stuff, right? Even though I have experienced, the most expensive stuff, in the world. Thousands of dollars for a bottle of wine. I mean, it's not unusual for me in the past. Um, so I don't need that, and I feel I don't need that because I see how everybody else is. And so when you have less desire, then you are happy. Or I don't need anything. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm quite happy to be living this simple lifestyle, till being recalled by my maker. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that question. And that's really a great question. I mean, not because you have white hair, this is a question that you're supposed to ask to yourself. I think this is something that everyone should ask,
Mm,
on what can I do more, or what do I want out of my life, and why, right? So that
mm,
we can, live more purposely and gratefully, because I think that's what is also missing out with most people. So,
mm,
yes, thank you so much for hearing all your insights. And
mm.
we look forward to, having you again on our upcoming uh, program. And oh, there's a comment here from Facebook. Good for you and your wife. So you have wife there for being able to enjoy having, to spend most of your time in the past during the COVID-19, I guess, and at the same time, being able to enjoy what life can offer as well in the last years, like you've mentioned, sharing all those wines and anything that you can have,
Yeah, but
and
if I can just add one point, right? You talk about my wife, right? I mean, it's not so easy to find a wife who allows you to spend all your life savings and all your time for other people. right? So she's also a very special individual.
Definitely, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I mean, it's because that's partnership, and
yeah.
that's supporting each other.
Thank you.
Yes. So thank you so much, Thomas, for all your insights, for sharing with us very wonderful stories and leadership capabilities or skills or even tools that we can actually make use of to be able to navigate this next normal. And again, like I've mentioned, I look forward to more sharing from you in our upcoming summit.
Be
Please
my
feel free
pleasure.
to invite them. If you'll be joining us in the panel on day one, panel two,
Hmm.
on social conscious and purpose driven business.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. So thank you so much and looking forward to have you in the summit. Have a good
Okay.
day.
I look forward to. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Stay safe, everyone.